Shatterline is a brand new free-to-play FPS game developed by Fraglab, a game development studio based in Ukraine. The game features both PvE and PvP game modes. As of writing this video, the game is currently still in early access and is available to download and play through Steam on your PC. The game is set on a post-apocalyptic world where huge shards of crystals hit the earth and cause the spread of a plague with some sort of virus that crystallizes any biological creature. You play as operatives that are immune to these things and fight back against these crystallized beings. In this video, I will try my best to tell you everything that this game has to offer, and hopefully give you a good idea of what to expect before downloading this game. Feel free to skip to the part that you're interested to hear with the timestamps in the descriptions below. If you ask me how I would describe this game in a simple term, I would probably answer with Call of Duty styled hero shooter. I say this because the movement and gunplay mechanic reminds me of Call of Duty games from back in the day. But what separates this game with just another casual FPS multiplayer game is its operatives and their abilities. Speaking of which, let's talk a bit more about the playable characters. The game currently has 8 different operatives that are divided into 4 roles: Trooper, Exo, Support, and Recon, with each role having their own shared passive abilities in the form of faster regeneration, wall climb in specific spots, breaking specific doors, a tactical sprint, and also a quicker revive to full health. And who could forget an ultimate ability for any hero shooter game? Each of these characters get an ultimate ability that are mostly used offensively against other enemies, but some characters do have ultimates for support as well. While powerful and satisfying to use, these ultimate abilities require some skills to utilize effectively, otherwise you're just gonna waste it. What I really like about Shatterline is that despite having all these crazy abilities, the most effective and reliable way to get kills is still with using your gun. I feel like they wanted to emphasize on the gunplay aspect more, and I can sort of feel it from a gameplay experience. So let's talk about the gunplay. From my experience, Shatterline's gunplay feels very reminiscent of Call of Duty. Each of the guns have very little to no recoil and also visible recoil, unless you're shooting at a long range distance using full auto. Hipfire has random bullet spread that depends on the type of gun, and ADSing would eliminate those spread and you instead have to focus on controlling the gun's recoil. The time to kill in this game is not too fast, considering each character have 150 HP, so you can find yourself fleeing out of an ambush with still some health left to fight back. Okay, pause. I was completely wrong in this regard. The time to kill in this game is actually very fast despite characters having 150 HP. When you're in a close range to mid-range gunfights up until 15 meters, you will die or get a kill within 3 to 5 bullet hit. The only scenario where my initial opinions hold true is within longer ranges where automatic guns have decreased bullet damage. But one thing for certain is that the characters in this game have such smooth movements. It's gonna be quite the challenge to track enemies from a distance where they're sliding and jumping everywhere. But you also have that ability to evade gunfire. And while the gun variety is limited, each gun feels and performs very distinctively with their own characteristics. So, how's the balancing between the gunplay and the abilities? Well, I'm happy to report that it's pretty balanced right now, except maybe the ultimate abilities when the person's using it correctly. I haven't felt that I've been killed too much by an annoyingly overpowered ability that cannot be dealt with. While there are some skills that can one-shot you like shockwaves, tomahawks, and C4 grenades, these abilities usually require some skill to pull off effectively, and even then, they have their own limitations. Some autonomous gadgets might be pretty annoying to deal with since you can be ganged up by the gadget and the user simultaneously. However, you still have a chance to counter them using better positioning or even using your own abilities. Though there are hardly any overpowered abilities, I can confidently say some operatives have skills that are quite lackluster compared to their peers. These abilities can be very situational in order to be effective, and while they might be useful in PvE, they're not as strong for PvP because the abilities behave similarly in those two modes, as far as I know. The gun balancing in this game can also be quite tricky. I have seen comments under the Steam review that says the guns are poorly balanced, that starting guns are vastly superior than the guns you unlock down the line. While these takes may be subjective, I can sorta understand that after spending time grinding EXP and collecting credits to unlock new guns just so that you can be gunned down by some schmuck using a starter gun can be frustrating. However, I still believe that the guns are quite evenly balanced to some extent at least, and the problems like this is easily fixed with a software update down the line. So, how does the gun system in this game work? Well, it's pretty straightforward actually. You have 5 basic types of guns ranging from your assault rifles, SMGs, shotguns, pistols, and DMR/snipers, which they put in the same category. Each of these guns can be leveled up by using them in either PvE or PvP matches, and with each level up, you unlock an extra attachment for your guns. However, you start out with only one attachment slot per gun, so you need to unlock more slots using in-game credits you get from finishing matches and doing tasks. There are 5 tiers of guns available right now. You start off at tier 1, and in order for you to unlock your next tier of guns, all you have to do is play the game. No matter any gun you use, you will accumulate gun XP point that not only level up your gun but also count as your tier progression. But once you unlock a new tier of guns, you still need to spend credits to unlock each individual guns along with your attachment slots. Let's talk a bit more about the available PvP modes that you can play. There are 4 main modes such as a respawn based team deathmatch, a conquest mode where you earn points for holding an objective, an escort mode where you're moving a cargo and fight off enemies that get in your way, and the classic single life plant the bomb mode. This game also have a limited time rotation of unique modes that you can try. Each of these modes offers different experiences. Conquest mode for example, despite being a respawn based mode like TDM and escort, your respawn timer is increased to 8 seconds instead of 5 on other respawn modes. This creates the incentive to play more tactical when securing objectives. Notably, the escort mode kinda reminds me of Overwatch, with there being 6 people with abilities pushing a payload. It's just that everyone has a hit scan weapon. The gameplay style of these PvP modes are why I think it's reminiscent of Call of Duty. Shatterline has 3 modes that you'll find in many Call of Duty games, and the pacing of these games are quite similar with the fact that they both have a rather casual-like experiences. But what I do like about Shatterline when compared to Call of Duty games like Modern Warfare 2019 and possibly the next Modern Warfare 2 is that the pacing is a bit faster and less campy, though there are times when people do camp on specific spots in this game. Now, I'm not really an expert in terms of game design and subsequently map design, but I can say that the maps are quite enjoyable to play in the PvP modes. Each map supports either close quarters with segmented areas or long-range fights with larger open spaces that creates a good variety in gameplay. One thing that I can say about the maps in this game is that it has quite a lot of verticality and also interactable objects that can reshape the battlefield. You have cars and crystal crates that you can kick around to create cover or make yourself a platform to get to higher places. And there are destructible surfaces scattered around some maps, and you can use them to create cheeky kill holes. On the aesthetic part, I got no complaints really. The graphics look great, even when I'm playing with low settings, and the colors in the maps and to some extent, the characters are quite vibrant. Also, since the game is set somewhere in the near future, you can see some parts of futuristic designs in almost familiar places within the world itself. Overall, I think it's a pretty neat design. I have plans to cover this topic in a separate video, but I'll tell you the summary of my experience playing it here. Here's the premise. You drop down from an aircraft with 2 of your buddies in a hostile area, filled with many crystallite monsters and enemy soldiers from a different faction. Your objective is to get to each checkpoint while fighting through batches of enemies along the way. Enemies will randomly appear as you walk through the area, and each one of them will give you and your mates different challenges. And While some enemies are bullet sponges, you'll soon meet tougher enemies that are more nimble, tankier, and also have specific weak spots. The PvE maps can get a little bit boring since there's barely anything going on outside of random supply pods scattered around the map. This kinda helps selling us the setting of being a post-apocalyptic game, and the sceneries are quite nice to be honest. As per the writing of the script, the game is still in early access, but all the features that I've told you are all available to experience if you download the game now. Honestly, with the current state of the game, I think it's quite near to be a finished product. I say that because I haven't really experienced any major technical issue with the game, and it has been running quite stable for me so far. Unfortunately, that is saying a lot, considering the trend of AAA studios releasing unfinished broken games lately. I honestly feel like the Frack Lab team did a very good job of making and also maintaining the stability of this game as an indie studio. If not for their hard work, this game would probably look and feel like World War III with its very troubled development and unstable performance that made players lose faith in the game, even after having a solid gameplay framework and getting a free-to-play update. In the end, I would highly recommend you playing this game or at least try it for a little bit and see if you like it because remember, the game is free. That's it for this video guys. Thank you so much for watching it till the end. And I'm sorry for the lack of content updates because I've been dealing with some IRL issues lately, but hopefully I could at least upload once a month in the future. But I'm not making any promises right now. I'm just gonna try my best. So yeah, thank you. Bye.